Welcome home, co-journers. I'm glad you're here for another episode. I'm Dr. Thema, licensed psychologist, ordained minister, and sacred artist, here to help facilitate your journey home to yourself. And on today, we want to talk about the gifts of grief. The gifts of grief. And we'll start today with a poem, as we do most of our episodes. This is a piece called Heavy by Mary Oliver, who recently transitioned to light herself. That time I thought I could not go any closer to grief without dying. I went closer and I did not die. Surely God had his hand in this, as well as friends. Still I was bent, and my laughter, as the Peel poet said, was nowhere to be found. Then said my friend Daniel, brave even among the lions, it's not the weight you carry, but how you carry it. Books, bricks, grief, it's all in the way you embrace it, balance it, carry it, when you cannot and would not put it down. So I went practicing. Have you noticed? Have you heard the laughter that comes now and again out of my startled mouth? Heavy. Oh, this is such an important piece for us to consider, not only the challenge and the weight of grief, but also the gifts that it brings. When we think about grief, we recognize the place for sorrow. We recognize that there can be longing and loss. There can even feel a sense of emptiness or overwhelm. For some people, grief includes feeling stuck, feeling like a sense of confusion of how do I go on from this? Or what can life look like without this person in my natural realm, in my physical space? And while we want to leave space for the sorrow, for the pain, for the discomfort, we also want to hold our hands and hearts wide enough to also see the grief of the moment. And I share this with you not only as a psychologist, but one who has encountered grief myself with the transition and the loss of my mother. And when people asked how I'm doing, I would often say I'm feeling two things, grief and gratitude. And both of those coexist. One does not eliminate the other. And so we often pay attention to the heaviness, to the weight, and that is important. We've had prior episodes on that. But I want to give space on today to the gifts that your grief may give you. And one of those gifts I have already named, and that is gratitude. That I give thanks for who my mother was. I give thanks for what she brought to my life. I give thanks for every lesson learned. I give thanks for what she taught me directly and indirectly. I give thanks for what I encountered and learned about myself over the years in her presence, reflected in her eyes. And so I invite you on today to think about what are you grateful for as it relates to the life of those whom you have lost. What did they bring to you? What was it in their smile, in their words, in their way of being that you have some appreciation for? Not only do we have gratitude for the gifts from the person, but many of us with our grief start to develop a greater appreciation for life itself, of not taking the moment for granted. And I know that is especially the case for those of you who have lost someone suddenly or when they were early in their years. It is that reminder that literally tomorrow is not promised. And so instead of just being in a place of despair about that, there can also be an appreciation that causes you to live deeply and fully. That I don't know how much time I have, but I want to make it count. I want it to be sacred. I want to see the specialness and the awe in this moment. And I'm mindful of, as a therapist, when I do group therapy or even individual therapy with people who are unhoused or dealing with addiction, whose lives are unstable, we will always be mindful that this session might be our last session. So while therapy often builds on one session after another, what if today is the only time I will get to see this person? And so it's important to plant a seed. It's important to have people come away with some affirmation or some skill or some knowing, because today might be our only day. So I invite you to consider that, not in a doomsday way, but if all you have is now, all you have for sure is now, this day, this moment, what do you want to do with it? Because often we assume, oh, next year, 5 years from now, one day, someday I'm going to do it. But if I don't have as many some days as I think or as I hope, how can I embrace the gift of this day? And so loss can put you in a place of really showing up for life. I remember my father sharing with me the trauma he felt when his older brother died very early. And really, as a young person, it bringing to the center of his mind the need to maximize the day. And so I invite you to both appreciate the love and the lessons from the person you have lost, but also to appreciate the gift of life. That even in this moment, if you can take breath with me, inhaling in through your nose and exhaling out through your mouth. Grief also gives us the gift of empathy, of compassion, because we come face to face with what it means to be tender-hearted. You understand what it feels like to not feel your strongest, for you to understand what it feels like to crumble, to break open, to feel a vulnerability, a raw honesty in the ways in which you show up. And even on the days that you're not able to show up, you have a better insight and sensitivity around that. And so then I'm able to have compassion for myself, and I'm also able to have deeper compassion for other people. When you are always a stick-to-it kind of person, a hold-it-together kind of person, a hustling kind of person, sometimes when people are struggling, you may not have the best empathy or compassion, because in your mind, in your experience, they should just pull it together. They should just keep on pressing the way that I do. But when life shakes you up, when you have those encounters, when you're not able to rally, then you have a greater understanding. When you encounter other people who are brokenhearted, you have a greater understanding. When you engage with someone and they are in a shattered place, for us to not respond with judgment, for us not to respond with cliches of just saying, well, there's a bright side somewhere, or you just need to, stick up your chin and grin. But instead, what I like to say is sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone who is grieving is your presence. That there are often not words that will make it all better. And sometimes when we feed people these words, it's to make ourselves feel better because we are uncomfortable with their distress. But instead, when I can remember the moments where there was no sentence that was going to fix it, there was no little pep talk that was going to do it, but what felt good were the family and friends who showed up for me even in silence, even with a text message, even with sending flowers. And so let your grief give you the gift of compassion. Whether other people have lost a loved one or not, we are all grieving something. And sometimes people are grieving opportunity. Sometimes they're grieving resources. Sometimes they're grieving time, lost time. But whatever it is, because I have been intimate with grief, I can, one, recognize it in others, and I can also show up softly with others, with softness and persistence, a persistent care that does not hurry people through their process. How many of you did not want to be hurried along, but needed to evolve at your own pace? And so what a gift for you to hold on to that wisdom and give it to others. Another gift of grief is strength and resilience. There are some losses that you either, one, did not imagine, or two, at a certain point, didn't know you could live through. For some of you, again, it may be loss of a loved one. For some, it's loss of a relationship where you could not imagine your life without this person. Maybe you had never even thought about it, and yet you find yourself either in grief from death, grief from separation or divorce or breakup, grief from a broken friendship, and you discover, not immediately, but over time, I can outlast even this, that there is life for me even beyond this shattering, that I am able to pick up the pieces of my broken heart, sew them, stitch them together again, and find something to look forward to on tomorrow. I am so glad that you are outlasting, that you are enduring, that you are persisting, even if you're laying in the bed, covers over your head, that you're still here. And I am grateful that a part of you is yet holding on. And so in these moments of shattering and loss, we learn new strength. We learn our own resilience. We learn our capacity to, it's not bounce back, because there's not really a bouncing after grief, but I'm going to say ascension, that there is a rising that happens within you, that something within your spirit, within your heart, within your mind allows you to rise up for another day, rise up for another season. And as I'm thinking about it, I want to also name that some of you are grieving your own health. And so the loss may be the decline in your physical body or in your mental well-being. And even that, you discover a certain strength in it to keep showing up for life, even when your body is struggling or your mind is struggling. And finally, another gift of grief can be our spiritual growth, to be able to see the sacred, to be able to recognize progression, not in terms of achievement in the outward sense, but what it means for your soul to grow in awareness, in clarity, in courage, in intention. And so allow yourself, including your soul, to evolve in the aftermath or the ongoing reality of your losses. I know it is difficult, and there is nothing minor about that. Grief and loss are major experiences in our life. They are life transforming. But I hope as you give yourself space for the mourning, that you also give yourself space to see the gifts of this season and the seasons to come. I invite your soul to tell your heart, mind, body, and spirit, welcome home.